Strong and it's sudden, and it's cruel sometimes, but it might just save your life. Hit it.
It's the power of love.
It's the power of love.
Cool. Hey guys, this show is sponsored by Ron. The Commuter Collection can get you through any work day and straight into whatever comes next. Head to ron.com/SOS and use promo code SOS to get 20% off of your entire order. That's 20% off for your entire order when you head to RHONE.com/SOS and use code SOS. It's time to find your corner office comfort. Welcome to another episode of SOS VHS. Today, we have YouTuber, comedian, rapper, personality, super talented team Chantarangsu, and we're talking about his favorite movie, Back to the Future. So, grab your popcorn, because where we're going, we don't need any roads. I it up. Actually, before we start, do you remember when we met?
No.
Do you okay? Because I thought you wouldn't. Because I directed a sketch where you were at Maker.
Which one?
I directed a sketch. I don't remember. What I remember is like George brought me in because I did one with Bobby Lee too,
okay.
and I did Puppet Cub with that show with Cass and G.
Mm-hmm.
And then I directed a sketch for you, and I wanted to be like Citizen Kane, you know. I wanted to put the cameras all around and do takes, and you were like, "This is how we do YouTube. You film people don't know anything."
What? Do you remember what sketch it was?
No, I don't remember. I know it was at your house, and it was like you guys used to shoot so fast.
Man, that's funny because I feel like now, after just like shooting so many sketches with Maker, and like Maker was the first time I had my own like, you know, crew, and I was working with real like lighting people and stuff like
Right.
that. I feel like now I probably operate way differently than I did back then. Now I'm like, oh, let's get these different angles. Let's do like so many takes, you know? Now
Right.
I'm like, oh, okay, nah, do this and this and that. Well,
So
how about
funny.
that?
Yeah. If you could go back in time, you know, what time would you go to?
You know? Oh, like if I could go back in time to any like
Yeah, if you
in
could
history?
get that DeLorean.
Oh. I mean, let's see. I mean, my first thought is I would go back to one of my birthdays. Now this is I'll get more historical in a second, but I would go back to one of my birthdays where I smashed this woman unprotected, and I should have worn a condom because I was kind of drunk, and it wasn't a very good decision, you know? And it just wasn't a good decision, you know what I'm saying? And I look back now, I'm like, I put myself through so much stress for like a month. I should have just put a condom on with that girl. I should have just went home, to be honest. I would have went in and I would have slapped myself on the ass and said, get out of there, man! And then
That's the historic Ron that you want to write. Is that?
Okay. and then actually, if we're talking historically, let's see. I would love to go to. I think where would I go? Maybe I would go back to like when everything I look back on just feels so miserable. You know what I'm saying? Like, everything just like, it was terrible back then. Maybe I'll go back to like the 60s, you know, where everybody's just like free love and drugs and, you know, STDs weren't like as big of a scare yet. I feel like free love would have been a fun time to experience. You know, maybe go to Woodstock.
Yeah.
And just like have a good time. Yeah, that would have been cool.
Were your parents there?
My dad was definitely, he was doing his thing in the 60s. He wasn't at Woodstock, but he was probably on some type of drugs. Yeah. For sure.
And would you have been friends with your dad?
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. We would have had a good time, definitely.
Yeah. Would you have kissed your mom?
You know what? I don't know if my mom was necessarily my type.
Like Marty.
Like Marty, you know, Marty made out with his mom a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know if that would happen with me and my mom, but who knows, man? Free love, you know? Who knows who you were kissing back then?
All right. And if you were to go back to an alternative reality and you met an alternative you, you know?
Yeah.
What do you think that person would be like? Or was there a time in, you know, a big decision in your life that if you had taken the other path, you would have been a different person?
Well, let's go back because my life could have been drastically different because, you know, I was born in Montana, in Billings, Montana, and my dad moved to LA, Long Beach, LA when I was a baby. So every once in a while I think about if he would have just stayed in Montana, would I still be like doing this type of thing? Would I still be a YouTuber? Would I still be like on TV and stuff? I don't know, man. I feel like if I was in Montana, I would have been, you know, we probably would have been one of the only Asian families out there. Probably would have had a little Thai food restaurant, which we had in Paramount, California as well. But maybe I would have just ended up, you know, I don't know. What do they do in Montana?
Yeah, you wouldn't have this sort of opportunities probably.
I don't know. I feel like maybe I still would have been a class clown. I still would have been goofy and enjoying performing and stuff, but probably would have been at the local theater in Billings, Montana. Who knows? Doing improv with a bunch of other cowfolk.
Yeah.
Who knows? I don't even know what they do in Montana, to be honest. But I would love to visit one day. Shout out to Billings.
In 1985, when the movie came out, you weren't even born. So
I was not yet born yet.
When did you see Back to the Future for the first time?
Back to the Future was just my dad was always it was one of his favorite movies too. So whenever it was on, we would watch together, and he, you know, would always put me on to like some classic movies, and Back to the Future was just like, you know, I could watch it over and over and over again, you know. And I just thought Marty McFly was so cool.
Yeah. So yeah, it's I mean, it reminds me of my childhood too. But what about it makes it your favorite movie? What does resonate?
I mean, I always liked like science fiction type stuff, and I also liked high school type vibes as well, you know, like Saved by the Bell, and that was my shit growing up. And I thought it was just a fun mix of, you know, some little science fiction. Like I love time travel stuff. I think it's such a fun thing to think about. And plus, like Marty McFly, he's a short king like me, you know, and he's still super confident, didn't care what anybody thought, unless they called him a chicken. And ladies loved him, and you know, I always try to rep for my short kings as well, you know, just be confident out here, regardless of the height, you know. So I think I just kind of you know, I thought Marty McFly was like a role model, you know. And I think it's one of those movies that you can watch over and over and over again, even though you know it's going to happen. You still get like excited, you know, you still feel the tension of like, oh my God, oh God, he got it. Oh, like, oh Lord, you know?
Yeah. I mean, one of the reasons I love this movie is because usually science fiction is a little darker, or like, you know, you go to this alternative realities and something terrible is happening, this feels very 80s with the energy, and like it's just fun, it doesn't matter, you know.
Yeah, dude, that's what I love about I love that about 80s movies too, you know. I love the kind of like campiness, fun, almost like corniness of it, right? And no one does that anymore. I think it was just a happier time for us growing up in that era. And you know, it's one of those things that you can watch, and it puts you in a good mood.
Yeah, I think, and the original Marty, you know, I don't know if you remember that they casted Eric Stoltz as Marty McFly, and he was such a serious actor, and he would overanalyze things and would feel very depressed in the past because like he didn't understand why, you know, and coming back to a future where like things have being altered, he thought, oh, this is so sad for this character. He missed on this whole life, so he was always like over analyzing everything. He wasn't being able to I guess, have fun.
I see.
So I think the directors eventually said, the director and the writer said, like, no, we need, he's not right for this.
You're killing the vibe.
Right, exactly. He wasn't able to get that fun thing,
It's too heavy.
Too heavy for something light, But yeah, were you a Michael J. Fox fan, or is just Back to the Future?
Yeah, dude. No, I love Michael J. Fox. Back to the Future, Teen Wolf.
Yeah.
Man, what else is like?
Well, do you watch Family Ties when you were a kid?
I watched a little bit of Family Ties. Yeah.
Because I guess now is the legend about like how he was shooting Family Ties in the morning and then run to set and shoot Back to the Future at night, and
that's crazy.
Back for like not sleeping for a couple months, because he really wanted to make this movie.
Damn, that's fun, man. And you know what? That's the thing about Back to the Future too. I feel like it was such a good. I think the trilogy is great. Like people sometimes they'll shit on the third one, but I love the third one too. I think it's like you said, it's just a good time. It's like it's fun. Like it's like it takes the kind of the silliness of it next level, but I think they're all just really fun movies, and even as corny people might say it can be at times, it's also very like it's still exciting. It's like it's a nail biter.
Totally, and it's one of those movies too that it happened by chance. Like everybody rejected the script. Like you hear that about a lot of movies, I guess, that then make a huge impact. Nobody went. Disney said that it was too incestuous for Disney.
It wasn't incest, bro. It was wincest.
Right. So it's kind of crazy. Spielberg was the only one who actually liked it, and it's that time in his life where he could produce whatever, and then he was friends with Zemeckis and Bob Gale, who wrote the script.
It's amazing,
and they just made it happen. So. One thing I love about this movie too is the fact that it is at the end of the day about family and protecting your family. So a question about your family: how did your family influence your life? If we go back in time to I don't know if Montana or early like in California, how did that?
Well, you know what? I was thinking about this recently because usually when I would do interviews, people would always ask like, "Yo, how are you such a confident person?" Because I've always been a very just confident dude, especially for being like, short and
like George McFly.
Yeah, I'm not like George. No, I was definitely more of a Marty McFly, right?
Right.
And people will always ask like, what are tips for being more confident? I never really know what to tell people aside from like, oh no, man, just like, fuck what people think. Like, who cares? Life is too short, whatever. But then I never really thought of why I was confident, because it's difficult to teach, right? But I thought back to as a little kid, my parents were always super like supportive of whatever weird ideas I had. I was an only child, so I was always just coming up with like weird games, and I was like drawing and like playing with myself. Not like that, but like that eventually, but playing, just using my imagination.
You have a lot of imagination.
And my parents never like made me feel weird. They never judged me. They were always like down to support whatever thing I was getting into. And I feel like that is something that as a little kid, it really helps build your confidence, It really helps like when you feel like, oh, okay, yeah, I can do anything, And I think that's what my parents were really good at with me, is that they were always super on my team and supportive of what I wanted to do. And they were always, just in my corner,
Yeah. Did you feel like you kind of like went back and reflect about that now that you are also a parent?
Yeah, for sure. I think about that because, I like that I was able to grow up not judged and allowed to be weird and express myself, So, especially with my daughter, I already see her really just being crazy, and I don't want to make her feel like it's not normal, because I feel like when you're growing up, especially when you're a kid and you might do something that's a little different, people are quick to be like, "Ew, you're weird," But I think that it's important to really like nurture the weirdness and let it grow and protect it, you know, because the world is gonna tell you that you ain't shit, you know, and that like and you're strange. But I think if you can hold on to that, it'll take you places.
Yeah, I mean, I have a 5-month-old baby too, and one of the
congrats, man.
Thank you. And I've been thinking about my parents and like, you know, what is this? I mean, I guess there's no secret sauce, but what would I do to like make sure, like you said, like that they're protected, but also that they grow up feeling confident and they grow up feeling like, okay, they can be themselves. Because a lot of people I've heard, you know, like they have those traumas of like, you know, the parents wanted it to direct them in one direction, which they are not part of, right?
Then you really just, you know, I feel like that's how you get sad kids, you know? Like, I mean, of course, we all grow up, you change your mind a million times, right? It's like, you're going to find your way eventually. It's like, I mean, let the kids make their own mistakes, you know? Without hurting themselves.
Because one thing, like now that I rewatched the movie with these new eyes, and I see that, you know, Marty, especially in the first part of the movie, like has a mom who's like very controlling and I would never do this. I would have never done that. And then he goes back to the past and he sees her mom doing exactly all the things that she's telling him not to do, you know? And I feel like, oh, that's what I don't want to do with my kids.
Right.
Like, I know that I did, and I'm going to assume that they're going to do them too, and that's okay.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I think about that all the time too. This your first kid?
Yeah, first kid.
Fun.
Yeah.
Congrats,
like,
man.
Learning to operate without sleep.
Yeah. No, those first few months are, yeah.
You get to create songs, and you know, your creativity was intact. So I read that from early on, I don't know how young you were, you had a what you call a Fresh Prince plan for yourself. What did you mean by that, and how old were you when you decided to, that's what I want to do?
Yeah, so I want to say probably like junior high, like 12-ish.
Okay.
I made this plan for myself. It was called the Fresh Prince format. It was to do everything Will Smith did in his career, follow his footsteps, which was rap, TV, movies, right? Because I was like, man, I was such a big Fresh Prince fan growing up, and I felt like, you know, speaking of like role models and kids, you know, I was the only child, so I didn't necessarily have like a big brother. So I felt like watching the Fresh Prince and again seeing how like confident he was, how he didn't care, seeing, you know, how he was with girls and stuff. I was like, man, he's so cool, you know. I almost looked at the Fresh Prince as like an older brother or that cool older cousin, you know. So yeah, and then I just became such a Will Smith fan, you know. I was like, man, I want to do everything Will Smith does because he was never in a box, you know. He did, you know, he did music, he did TV, then he was a movie star, and he like started slapping people, and I was like, I can do all these things too. Right,
and you did.
Yeah.
How did you make that happen?
I just told myself I was gonna make it happen, and I did it.
Right. I mean, I'm always fascinated by like, you know, having so many talents and doing them well. Because also like Will too, you rap, but also comedy. You have those chops, and then you did movies and TV too, and it's like, oh wow.
You know, and I'm still working on like taking it to the level that I'd like to be at. But yeah, you know, I've done TV, and I was able to really do some cool things with my music, and I've done some little movies here and there. I'm trying to make it to that like blockbuster level, but I've been in a couple movies here and there. So I think for me, how I did it was, you know, I never looked at it as something that was unrealistic. You know, people always want to like. People would ask me, how does it feel to be living your dreams, right? And I would always say, like, I never looked at it like a dream, because a dream feels like, you know, oh, like, I don't know, you're riding a unicorn through the clouds and stuff, you know? Yeah. For me, I just looked at it as like...
You would have a business plan.
Yeah, a business plan. Like, you know, like, for example, I had a friend in high school who, you know, she knew she was going to be a doctor. So, you know, she went to, like, took all the bio classes and was pre-med and was a nurse, and she's a doctor. I looked at it like that. Like, I know I want to be on the screen performing, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna take these classes and improv classes, and I'm gonna, you know, YouTube popped up. I was like, I'm just gonna put videos on here, and I'm gonna work with this person, and and continue to elevate, and, you know, learn how to do real takes when I'm shooting sketches and shit like that, you know.
Right. So you'll make it the moment that you slap someone on national TV. Is that your biggest, you know, that's when you the level you want to be at.
That's what I'm working towards. Yeah. No, Chris Rock specifically.
Yeah, okay. Hey guys, let me tell you a little bit about one of my favorite sponsors, Rhone. As you guys know, I like to dress with colored shirts all the time. It makes me feel elegant. It makes me feel good. And my biggest issue with having to wear, shirts and dressy pants every day was the ironing part, right? Like I wake up every morning, iron my clothes. People laugh at me because I guess some people wear them wrinkly, but I like to look pressed and good. So when Ron came along, I was like, oh my God, this is it. I just, put them in the washing machine, take them out, dry them, and they're already ready to use, no wrinkles. Also, the anti-odor technology that they have is amazing. I can run, play ping pong like I do at the office when I'm not recording, and then go back, and it's perfect. With Ron's wrinkle release technology, wrinkle disappears as you stretch and wear the product. It's that easy. It is that easy. With Gulf Fusion anti-odor technology, you'll be smelling fresh and clean all day long. And on top of that, Ron is 100% machine washable, so you can ditch the dry cleaner altogether. I'm telling you, try it. You're not gonna regret it. It's so cool and so comfortable, and it feels so good on your skin. The commuter collection can get you through any workday and straight into whatever comes next. Head to ron.com/SOS and use promo code SOS to save 20% off of your entire order. That's 20% off of the entire order when you go to RHONE.com/SOS and use code SOS. It's time to find your corner office comfort. Is it true that you were fired from California Pizza
Kitchen?
Yeah.
I was fired from CPK. So silly. They were. I was probably a server at California Pizza Kitchen for like a few years, and then they were switching their uniforms to all black uniforms. And at the time, I didn't want to wear just an all black button up. I just felt like I just wasn't feeling it. And this was before Twitter was like what it is today. I feel like that. Not this many people were on Twitter back then. So
right.
I tweeted at California Pizza Kitchen. I was like, black button-ups are the lamest shit ever. And thinking no one would care or see it.
Right.
And then someone from their like home office DM'd me, or whoever ran their socials DM'd me, and they're like, hey, thank you for your opinion on our new uniforms. What store do you work at? And I was like, oh shit, delete. Not gonna reply to that. And then, but it was too late. I guess somebody from their headquarters like kind of clicked around on my profile, and on YouTube it said I was from Long Beach, so they called the general manager of the Long Beach area CPKs and were like, do you know this kid? And she's like, yeah, that's Tim. We're like, well, you gotta fire him. So
how old were you?
I don't know, 20 something.
Okay.
And they fired me because apparently there was something in the handbook that says you're not allowed to badmouth the company on any public,
right,
a thing. And also they didn't like a tweet where I said time to go to work at California Pizza Kitchen. They didn't like that. But I'll tell you what, in terms of like, destiny and stuff, and just the universe and things happening for a reason. The week I got fired from California Pizza Kitchen, I won this YouTube contest where we had to make like a commercial for HP laptops, and I won. It was like the prize was like $15,000 or something like that.
Yeah.
And that was the first time I had like a big enough little check in my bank account where I was like, oh, okay, I can take a break from working a real job, quote unquote, and really go hard on these like YouTube videos, and then I think that really helped me have some freedom to be consistent and crank out some videos. And I haven't worked a real job since,
That's it is like in Back to the Future has a lot of those themes of like the fate and destiny. So do you believe that in that? Do you believe that
I think there are things that are like your destiny. And I also think that I look at it like this, right? I think it's a little balance of destiny and you control your own way, right? I look at it like there's this thing that's meant for you to get to, like an island, right? But it's on you to get there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you can set sail there and the wind might take you somewhere else, but you have to keep on wanting to get there, and it's there for you to get there. You just got to keep going towards it. You know what I'm saying? So it's like a balance, you know, like, hey, this is meant for you.
Yeah.
But you have to put in the work.
Yeah, that reminds me of some advice that like a big director gave me sometimes, like, oh, in Hollywood, it's not that people don't make it, it's that they quit. You know, and if those who don't quit eventually will get there.
Yeah, bro. Look, it's just, you know, I say this all the time too. It's really, people get discouraged when they don't feel like they're making the steps towards what they
their goals.
Like their goals.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, as long as you're making little baby steps, even as long as you're working towards it, then you're going in the right direction. You know?
Right.
People get discouraged so quick when it doesn't happen when they think it's gonna happen.
Definitely. I mean, I feel like I've been there too. Like, it's like you want your straight line, and this is more like a winding road. Like,
it's time for rapid fire questions.
Rapid fire questions.
yeah.
Thank you. I'll take it from here, Andres.
Okay.
You take a break.
I'll take a break.
All right, here we go, Tim. Action or comedy?
Like I have to choose one?
Oh, yeah.
Comedy.
Hulu or Netflix?
Hulu. Wow.
Boxers or briefs?
Boxer briefs. If I had to choose, boxers.
What's your guilty pleasure movie?
Guilty pleasure movie. Pitch Perfect.
What's your favorite movie snack?
Popcorn.
What is the best trilogy of all time?
Back to the Future.
Incorrect. Lord of the Rings. What actor would play you in a biopic of your life?
What actor would play me in a biopic of my life? The Rock.
Oh, I like that.
And that's where that confidence comes from. Yes. I like it.
Tarantino or Nolan?
Ooh, Tarantino.
DiCaprio or Joaquin Phoenix?
Ooh, Joaquin Phoenix.
Boobs or butts?
Butts.
What is the first movie you saw in a theater that you can remember?
First movie I saw in theaters that I can remember is Never Ending Story.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was terrified of those. There were those like guards. They had their teeth or something was like moving. I was really scared. Yeah, I remember that.
What movie line do you quote the most?
Probably Nacho Libre. And there's one random part where he goes, read some books.
Yeah, go away. Read some books.
Yeah, dude.
Dom Toretto from Fast and the Furious. It's all about
family.
That's right. Titanic or When Harry Met Sally?
Oh, Titanic. My first boobs I watched with my family.
That's how you remember that one.
If it's yellow, should you let it mellow?
We've been letting it mellow, yeah.
All right, cool. If your life was a movie, what would the title be?
I'm debating going for a joke or
or
something profound. It would be hard nibbles.
Front of the Human Centipede or back of Human Centipede with Ana de Armas in the middle?
Ooh, definitely give me the front.
If you could erase one movie from your memory, what would it be?
You know, there's not a lot of movies that I hate.
Yeah,
because I'm super forgiving of movies. Usually.
Me too.
You know?
Yeah. Do you walk out of movies or?
I've only ever. No, I don't think I've ever walked out of a movie.
I've only did once. I don't know if you've ever seen this movie. It's called Battlefield Earth.
With John Travolta.
John Travolta and Forrest Whitaker is the Scientology.
Right.
And I thought it didn't make any sense, and I was so pissed, and I left it. I thought it was going to be a fun action movie.
Walked out.
And I walked out. So that's, I guess in my list is like, oh, that's the worst movie I've ever seen.
Oh, okay. You know what? Like, my first thought, and I'm such a Will Ferrell fan, so this really hurt me because I really wanted to like it. But his Sherlock Holmes movie, man, was so bad.
It's terrible.
It was so bad. And I saw like the reviews were bad. And usually when a movie gets really bad reviews, I'm like, nah, man, the critics are stupid, right? Because like a lot of my favorite comedies have like bad Rotten Tomato scores.
Yeah. And so, I'm okay. Like, I'm always okay with comedies if they're bad movies as long as they make me laugh. I thought that movie was
Oh yeah, it wasn't even funny. It was
No.
just I was like, oh, what is this? I
It's a
just had to.
little cringy. Yeah, both of them were bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a question about. So you started doing YouTube videos while working at or I thought you said that you won that contest. How long have you been doing YouTube videos on your own before
I got fired?
Yeah.
Let's see, probably around that time. Maybe
Okay,
like,
so
probably a couple years.
Okay.
Yeah, I think.
And then what's the story? How did you get to Maker? Because that's not that long after, right?
Oh yeah, okay. So I was, I've been on YouTube since 2006. So
Right.
it had been a few years. I had kind of built up my own audience, and then so a lot of the OG YouTubers, we all just kind of knew each other just from different events and stuff like that. And Maker wasn't known as Maker at first. It was known as The Station. There was this like Avengers Assemble of like YouTubers. And I remember I was kind of with them one night at an event or something. I was like, hey man, if y'all need an Asian dude, to diversify the mix a little bit, let me know. And then I spoke to someone who told me like, oh, look, it's more than just the station. It's like a whole thing we're doing, Maker Studios, and we'll be able to provide this for you. And that was like my first real opportunity to have a budget for my sketches, because up until that point it was just me and a camcorder and a tripod and whatever homies could help, So I was like, oh, okay, well let's try this out.
Yeah.
And it really did. I remember it was funny initially though, because early YouTube days, people were so used to the cheap stuff, right? So
yeah,
as soon as you had a little bit of production value, I think my audience was like, "Oh man, you sold out! Can't believe you did! I can't believe you're shooting with a real. Oh, you sold out, dude!" And I was like, "What are you guys? What are you talking about?" Fast forward to now, where people, if your shit's not super HD, they're like, "What? Did you film this on a potato? What is this?" Well, come on, guys, But yeah, I think it really helped kind of just mold my process. Like you said, right? When you filmed with me, I was like, come on, bro, this YouTube. Like, what's all this like angles and takes and shit, But now I think because of my time with Maker, I really learned, like now when I'm on real sets, I know how shit works, what I'm saying? Like, and where, let's say I'm on set with someone who was like a TikToker or a Viner, and they don't know to wait for the slate and and for sound, it's like they'll start going immediately, or they don't know how things, they don't know the process, So I think I really picked up a lot from working with Maker.
Right, and you ride the whole wave of Maker from until the Disney. When did you leave?
I left, bro, when I found out from somebody, not even somebody at Maker, that hey, Maker's not Maker anymore. I was like, huh? I was shooting something. They're like, yeah, so Disney. I think it was fucking Pete that told me.
It might have been. Yeah.
Skeleton dude was like, hey, so Maker's not. Oh, somebody told me. They're like, hey, Maker's a Disney digital. And I was like, what? And then everything just kind of fizzled and went away. But luckily, I had stock during the Disney acquisition, so that was good for me. And how was your pivot? Because it was a little bit before podcasting, or was already. I guess like you started podcasting a little later, right? Probably like I definitely felt like I was late to the game when I started podcasting, and that was still like 4 years ago, which is crazy.
Yeah.
But in between that and Maker's fizzling out, I was still working.
Well and out, or no?
When did Maker completely just like implode? What year was that?
I want to say it was 2000.
I think it was 2016 at the end of beginning of 2017.
I remember
February,
doing some at the very, very end. I was never a Maker person, but I would like, George and Bryce would bring me in. And they did things that were like, they throw a lot of money at stupid stuff that didn't go anywhere, and then everybody was so pissed, and none of the YouTubers wanted to work with there. So I guess like when everybody worked, like walk out, like there was no more Maker,
Right. Well, it was silly because during the end times, for years I had this kind of budget for all my sketches, and one day without any warning, they were like, "Hey, so just so you know, your budget is like out of money." I was like, what? no one ever said, what are you talking about, right? So I was like, okay, this something's
different.
awry. Yeah.
Right.
I got on Wild 'N Out around 2013 and was there from 2013 to 2019. So I guess I kind of was doing that during the Maker demise, and then was still like, was just kind of started paying for my own sketches and hiring a crew, and then I started doing like food content with the homie, and just
you became your own production company.
Yeah, like literally.
You knew.
You know?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. What I guess, what did you learn? What is the biggest lessons from Maker that allow you to just keep doing your own thing without, I guess, that structure, that infrastructure?
Well, I think, aside from just the structure of like how to film a sketch, I think my time with Maker really kind of helped me, I think, evolve as someone who was just making videos to actually someone who was doing business. You feel me? Like, I was able to look at myself more as like a brand, and I was like, now I was negotiating my own brand deals, and I just kind of like, I think it just helped me really apply the business aspect of what I was doing a little more,
right?
And I was like, yeah, like these guys, it just kind of they started doing it. I was like, I can do this shit. I was like, let me just create and put a little money behind it, because before I had no money to put behind it, and I was just doing it, and I was like, nah, okay, I kind of know how it works a little bit. I know how the brand deals work a little better, so just kind of did my own thing. Oh, the sword from Kill Bill. How about that?
Yes.
That's a good one.
Japanese steel.
So, and then how did you get involved with the Wild 'N Out?
So now when I got on Wild 'N Out, it was the reboot. So Wild 'N Out was on when I was like originally on when I was young. I don't know, like high school-ish.
Yeah.
Probably junior high. I don't know, I forget. A long time ago. And even then I remember thinking, man, I would be good on this show, because I was still like rapping back then, being funny, stupid with the homies. And then someone had left a comment or a tweet, and they were like, hey, Nick Cannon's bringing Wild 'N Out back. And I was like, oh shit. So I followed Nick Cannon on Twitter, and then one day he tweeted, who's the funniest person online? Whoever gets the most retweets of hashtag Wild 'N Out needs me, I'll audition personally. And I was like, oh shit. So I had already kind of built up a little fan base on YouTube at this point. So I had my minions retweet.
Right.
And then someone DM'd me and were like, hey, if you're serious, contact this person for an audition. And I also, somebody I knew like in the business, like a manager homie, he saw my tweet and was like, hey, if you're serious, I can get you in the room, So went on the audition, which was probably like a room of 6 people, one of those people being Nick Cannon.
Right.
And they're like, hey, okay, well, first rap for us, whether it's like, freestyle or written or whatever. And then they have you rap, and then we play some improv games. And then after that, they called me back for the group audition. And we auditioned with a bunch of other people, a bunch of other comedians. We rap battle a little bit, play some improv games, and then they were like, you're on the show. And I said, sweet.
Cool. Did you guys ever write stuff out, or is this always like it looked like it's improv completely?
Well, I put it to people like this, right? Because if you watch the show, we really only play like 5 or 6 games on repeat.
Right.
So naturally, when you're like in the bathtub or fucking eating your sandwich, you're gonna be like, oh, this would be a great joke.
Right.
So you kind of store it in the back of your brain.
Yeah.
And of course, there are people who, going into it, they might think like, oh, I should say this to this person, write it down a little bit.
Right. The more you know the people, they're, how to, I guess, joke with them. Yeah.
And like the night before, they'll tell us, there's no scripts, but they'll tell us, oh, this person's on your team, this person's on the other team,
right? Blah
blah blah. So if you want to, you can be like, oh, okay, let me write some shit down for this dude, right?
Right.
But there's no scripts. We just turn the cameras on and and play.
I mean, I always, since I guess I watched like 8 Mile, and watch the behind the scenes, I've always been fascinated with people who can be so quick at coming with like really elaborate insults in such a fun way, and like rhyming and everything. I was like, what a skill.
And look, hey, I tell people too, man, look, we shoot for like 2 hours, you know, because people are like, hey, how do you always come up with such fire? I'm like, I'll tell you what, it's not always fire.
Right.
It's not always great. But the beauty of TV is that when it's
Like,
trash, they cut it, you know?
Yeah, which makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, so they shoot it for 2 hours and they cut it down to a clean, hilarious 20 minutes, you know?
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah. So, yeah. So now in your latest, I guess, part of or your the things that you're doing right now, you're doing 2 podcasts at the same time.
Yeah.
How did you get into podcasting? Did you see other comedians do it, or do you always like podcasting since it came out?
I mean, you know, I feel like, you know, everybody, they watch podcasts and they think, I can have a podcast.
Oh yeah.
I'm laughing with my friends. This would be a great podcast. But for sure, I just thought I was already doing a lot of talky YouTube content, right? Like one of my original video series that went well for me on YouTube was just advice videos. Like I was doing a video series called Dear DeLaGhetto, and this was back when, you know, I was Timothy DeLaGhetto on YouTube, and you know, people would write me questions and sex and relationship stuff. So I thought, okay, this was a great format where I'll just sit around with my boy and my other co-host, and it'll be a good podcast, right? So I like I said, I thought I was a little late to the game, but my audience was supportive, and it did well.
Yeah.
You know? And then and you know what? A lot of people that think, oh, I can have a podcast, they'll do it for a couple months and they're like, I don't know what else to talk about anymore. You know
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Or I've seen a lot of people who they'll do it and then without the constant like edit button and the constant like something there to push it along, you get a lot of dead air. You
Absolutely. No. And like there's like the type of podcasting that you guys do, like usually I say you guys as comedians, people who can like talk nonstop without script like for every week, is like amazing.
Well, thanks, man. You know, I just also recently got like actually diagnosed with ADHD. I think that helps to be a podcaster, you know, because my brain is kind of always
You're
going.
always doing a million things at once.
Yeah. So even when there is a second of dead air, it's like, you know, there's somewhere else I can go, and so that's a blessing. And then my other podcast, which is Dudes Behind the Foods, it's my comedian homie David So, who I was doing I do a food travel show with. We decided, he also has his own podcast, but we thought we have like a super similar sense of humor and we like talking about food and we thought let's bring on food and eat and chat, and you know, people like it, so it's a good time. Who would have thought, man? You know, all those years getting in trouble for talking too much in class and now paying the bills.
Right, that's the lesson for your daughter.
Yeah, exactly.
She's gonna use it against you when
she's like, Dad, I just want to be like you.
Right. So do you still audition? Do you still looking for like those movies? Because when do you have time? Because you still write music, you still sing,
I still, I do still audition. And I'm still trying to write like a movie and stuff. It's definitely really difficult to find time, you know. Especially when my first baby, my daughter, when she was kind of new, trying to find time to audition and stuff. Like I would have to do the auditions myself, you know, when the baby was asleep,
right?
You know, didn't have anybody to like read with me, you know. I just had to find a way. Luckily for me, my first baby was you know, she was a pandemic baby, so all the auditions were self-tapes and all the meetings were on Zoom, so it was like
to help you to like
I could be home with
right.
the baby, you know. Now the world is open again, so for sure it's like, you know, if I have an audition, it helps. You know, we got a nanny now because we got 2 babies. It's a lot, bro. It's a game changer, man. If you think you're tired with this first one, just wait till if y'all have a second one, bro.
I mean, if you were to ask me now, it's like, no way.
I got 2 little skeletons myself.
So you feel me, bro?
I feel you.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. Going from 1 to 2. Wow.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't know it was gonna be that different. So when I was already procrastinating on trying to write this movie, now it's like, when do I find time to write this movie, you know? And it just really kind of comes down to prioritizing my the things I do with my time, which is difficult. Like Now it's like, okay, do I want to watch this show I've been trying to watch on Hulu for a month now? Can I binge the show, or should I actually just fucking sit down and write? I'm like, God.
Absolutely. So if you could go back in time to give yourself advice, what advice would you give a younger Tim?
What advice would I give a younger Tim? I think aside from, hey man, wear a condom with that girl.
Yes, aside from that.
I think I would tell myself, I think it would be more so a reminder of what I tell current Tim too, which is also just like, hey man, who cares what other people think? You got this. You're going in the right direction. Just keep doing what you're doing, and fuck what people think. Because I think even as a grown man, even after years of being on YouTube and being like, ugh, who cares? Who cares what these lame random people on the internet say? Every once in a while, there's still a time when I'm laying in bed, I'll read a comment, I'm like, oh, I'll get my laptop. I'm like, let me reply to this motherfucker real quick.
Right. Yeah, it's
Such
difficult to be immune to everything. But yeah, because like in the movie too, like Marty goes back in time to kind of, and has to face a little bit his insecurities, his fears. I know you're super confident, but did you have to overcome any sort of like insecurities or fears, like when you in your career or in your life?
Yeah, I think, of course, even if you're super confident, everybody like second guesses himself a little bit, gets a little, you might get a little nervous, or everyone has those thoughts like, am I doing the right thing? Like, am I on the right path? And I just feel like there's this Jim Carrey quote, right? Where, and I don't know the exact quote, but, paraphrasing.
Yeah.
His dad said that his dad like was also trying to be an entertainer and then quit, because he had a family, and so started working at this job for like, I don't know, 10, 20 years, and then he got laid off. So his dad said like, look, you can fail at the things you don't want to do. So you might as well do what you want to do, and that's just it's so true.
Powerful, right? Yeah. Thought. Yeah
man, and it's like you can't control anything. You never know what's gonna happen in life. I constantly remind myself, okay, here's something that whenever people are like, yo, how are you so positive all the time? And I'm like, I tell them, I always am thinking about the fact that we could all die at any time. Like we could literally die right now, right? So it's like, why waste time dwelling on like the things you can't change?
Yeah.
Or like the negative bullshit when like, yo, a plane could crash through this building right now and we could die. You know? It's like, dude, let's just make the most out of it.
Yeah, and watch a lot of 80s movies.
And watch 80s movies.
Right. Okay, I think the Skeleton wants to give us some facts about this movie.
Oh, I got the facts. I got the movie facts right here. Here we go. Okay, so this movie opened on July 3rd, 1985 and grossed $210 million at the U.S. box office, making it the highest grossing film of 1985. $210 million.
Crazy.
The script was rejected 44 times
what?
before it was finally greenlit.
Wow.
You're speaking of, rejection and, persevering. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
The inspiration for the film largely stems from Bob Gale, who discovered his father's high school yearbook and wondered whether he would have been friends with his father as a teenager.
Wow, that's a fun thought.
In the original script, the time machine was not built out of a DeLorean, but out of a fridge.
Oh.
Which is funny because I don't know if you saw the Indiana Jones, I guess the Indiana Jones that the Spielberg did.
Oh, with Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah.
I didn't see that one.
Because that one has a moment with a fridge.
I heard.
Like, it's like,
Oh, the atomic bomb.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ronald Reagan was so amused by Doc Brown's disbelief that an actor like him could become president that he had the projectionist stop and replay the scene.
What? Wow, what a boss move.
So talking about height here, Doc's distinctive hunched over look developed when the filmmakers realized the extreme difference in height between Christopher Lloyd and Michael J. Fox. Fox is 5'4.5", and Christopher Lloyd is 6'1".
That's
I'm
you.
5'4.5".
You're McFly, yeah.
I literally, that's so funny because speaking of auditions,
right?
Whenever, because they always have you tell the camera how tall you are, I will always say 5'4.5".
Right.
Because I think it's funny to say that.
Right.
Wow. Cool.
I think you're a half inch taller than Bobby. It took 3 hours in makeup to turn the 23-year-old Leah Thompson, Lorraine Baines, into the 47-year-old Lorraine.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man, she was so hot.
Let's see, last one here. When Marty is being judged at the band auditions at the beginning, the judge who stands up to say he is just too darn loud is Huey Lewis, whose songs is The Power of Love and Back in Time that are featured on the movie soundtrack. So that's actually Huey Lewis.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's cool.
That is cool.
Yeah, a couple of fun facts for a cocktail party, you know?
Yeah, one of my favorite facts about this movie actually is the big executive at Universal hated the title and wanted to call it Spaceman from Pluto.
Oh, I heard that fact.
Right, and then like the filmmakers didn't know how to deal with this. It's like we're talking about the president, and then Spielberg said, "Let me. I know how to deal with this," and he wrote a memo saying, "Ha ha ha! We got your hilarious memo. Thank you so much. Keep them coming." And
That's
he
great.
never said anything back.
That's
You know,
so
his
funny.
pride made it okay.
Thank you for your awesome stupid joke.
Right.
Wow. Wow. Did you? Oh, wow. Your 5-year-old's hilarious.
Which I think is like a great move. I to use in your real life. Okay, so Marty has a connection, a special connection with Doc. Do you have someone like that in your life? Do you have a good, like a mentor figure or someone like that that helped you out?
I wouldn't say I have any like mentors in my life. I would say like my boy Rick, who's been my best friend for like, I don't know, 20 years now. I wouldn't say he's my mentor, but he is definitely balances me out, holds me down, keeps me in check, you know.
Mm-hmm.
He also like doesn't drink at all, so on some of my like most turnt moments of just like ridiculousness, drunkenness, he was there to be like, drag me away from when I was probably being a little crazy.
You needed him back then when you know
with that girl.
Yeah.
I did. I sure did. If only he was in the room.
Okay, so how did you meet your wife? Were you like George, like scared to ask her out, or or were you more like Morty?
Well, long story short is back in the YouTube days, early YouTube days, I was like, my wife's, one of her friends used to make YouTube videos. And then I thought that girl's videos were super funny. So me and that girl became just like online friends, YouTube, Facebook friends, whatever, MySpace friends. And one day I was on Facebook just clicking around, looking through different people's pictures and stuff. And I was like, yo, who is your sexy ass friend? She was like, oh, that's my girl, blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh, okay, well, I just kind of put it into the universe. Well, she's cute. And then they were taking a trip to LA because they're Canadian. They were taking a little road trip to LA. And I was like, all right, well, hey, introduce me to your friend, right? And I always tell people the story where, because she had a boyfriend at the time. And I was like, hey, Tim, nice to meet you. And she was like on her phone. And she like looked up and was like, hey. And just looked back down. Was not trying to talk to anybody since she had a boyfriend, right?
Right.
But then months later, she messaged me on Facebook and was just like, hey. I was like, oh, hi. And I texted the mutual friend. I was like, hey, yo, your girl just messaged me. What's up? She's like, oh, she's single now. I was like, yes, I'm in there, baby.
Mm-hmm.
So we messaged for a bit on Facebook, and then
she was like Lorraine. No, she would ask a boy out.
She would ask a boy. She definitely initiated that first message. I was like, oh, yes. So, after some talking online, we exchanged numbers, and then I had a show in Toronto. She had fam out there, so we linked up, and I started flying back and forth. We did long distance for some time, and then got married, moved her ass to LA, and Here we are, 2 babies later. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so another great, or another big theme of the movies is high school, as we learned, like that was kind of an inspiration. Were you, in your high school years, were you a skateboarder? Did you play instruments?
Yeah, I wasn't really in any like cliques. I was a theater kid. I was vice president drama club. And I did musicals and all that. But I also would do musicals, and then I would like rap battle people at lunch,
Okay. Is that like a nerd kid or not really? Because the battle, I think, that gives you a street cred, no?
Well, here's the thing that was interesting about my high school is it wasn't very, not a lot of those like tropes were there. You know what I'm saying? Like the athletes weren't necessarily the popular people.
Oh, interesting.
There were certain people would hang out in different areas, but it wasn't like the nerds and the theater kids. Like the theater kids that were in my class, like a lot of them were ASB, so like they were still popular, and it wasn't like the band geeks were just band geeks. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
Everyone was just kind of mixing and mingling, So, I had a good time in high school,
no bullies around?
No bullies that mess with me. I'm sure maybe a couple people might have had some bully issues, but I was having a good time. I was a theater kid, but I was still cool, quote unquote.
Right.
I was prom king. Even though I was like, I was probably one of the only Asian kids in school too. My high school was like 75% Mexican specifically. But yeah, man, they loved me.
And obviously way better than being in Montana in terms of like fitting in. But like, did you always feel like the lack of like people like you growing up, and like, did that influence your view of the world or not really?
You know what? Like before high school, my school was pretty diverse. Like Asian, Black, some like Latino sprinkled in, a couple white kids. And then when I went to high school was the first time that I was around like predominantly like Latino kids, right? Like, but my best friends, a couple of my bestest friends to this day are still like some of my best friends from high school,
Okay.
And I feel like my time at Paramount High and being in that environment really kind of molded who I am, to be honest. I kind of almost like being one of the few Asian kids there, because I think it made me stick out, and
in a good way.
In a good way, yeah. Like not in a way where I got bullied, and even like I think it kind of helped train me for wilding out. You know what I'm saying? Where where when they would crack jokes about me being Asian, whether we were like rap battling or just joking on each other, like I had jokes for like the Black kids and the Latin kids and everybody. We'd all joke on each other, so it kind of trained me for wilding out. And I think I was able to also just kind of educate people, that weren't around a lot of Asian kids. I remember specifically one of my good friends in high school, he was half Puerto Rican, half Black. He was like, "Hey man, so let me ask you." He's like, "So there's China and then there's Asia, right?"
Right.
And I was like, "All right, man, check it out. Let me break it down for you."
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I had a good time, man. Like for sure. It's easier when you're around more of your own people. Less things you got to explain. But I think like I said, I think everything happens for a reason. I didn't say that before, but I think everything happens for a reason. And I'm grateful for my experience there. Yeah.
And so you didn't encounter any biffs in your high school, but have you encountered any in your life?
Well, you know what? There was a guy that got a little biffy with me in PE. There was this dude named Alfonso that used to take my lemonade every day until one day he took it, and I was like, okay, well, yeah, I hope you enjoy the taste of my pee. I told him I peed in it, and then from then on, he never drank my lemonade again. I was lying, though. I jizzed in it.
So, I think like one of the things that, especially looking at what happens in schools today, because I also, my high school experience was pretty fun, and even with like I know kids could be cruel, but it was very, very tame.
Yeah.
But seeing like what happens there, like one of my worries now is like for my kids is like, hey, how do you, what is your advice? What would you tell your kids about dealing with bullies?
With bullies?
Yeah.
Man. I mean, for one, I hope my kid never has to deal with bullies, right?
Right.
Because it can be traumatizing, right? Hopefully my confidence and my hilarious sense of humor passes down to my kids, so they never have to worry about that, right?
Your defense mechanism was always like comedy, right? Like,
I mean, I feel like if you're funny, everybody likes you. You know what I'm saying? So, and my daughter's already hilarious. So I feel like I don't have to worry about her, and she's cute too. We in there. But
two for two.
Yeah. But I think if you do have to deal with bullies, man, my advice for my kids would just be just hit them with a rock. Hit them with a big rock.
So the Marty McFly, like you have to stand up for yourself.
Don't hit them with a rock. But yes, I think it's good to stand up for yourself. I think even for me, I was never a violent person, but I tried to make sure people know that I wasn't no bitch. I wasn't a little bitch, and I think that's important as well. But I think that you got to be able to stand up for yourself a little bit, but also there's no shame in telling a teacher.
Right.
When Mikey Johnson, I remember Mikey Johnson used to pull my hair in 3rd grade. Oh, I told my dad immediately. I'm like, Dad, this kid's pulling my hair,
right?
And we got him in trouble. So I got no problem with that.
So I think we talk a little bit about this with your island metaphor, but do you believe that the writer of the movie said that he's, I guess, the big message of the movie is that everybody has the ability to control their own destiny. Do you believe in that?
Control your own density.
Density. Exactly. Yes.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, so I always have this thing that I say in my videos too, and we touched on this, where people ask me, how do you feel to live your dreams, right? And I painted the whole island metaphor, right?
Yeah.
So so I would tell people to don't look at your dreams, or don't look at your goals as dreams. Look at your goals as a destination, right? Because a destination, like that island, right? It's something that's there. It's there for you to take and to get to, as long as you keep working towards it. You might have to take a different direction than what you anticipated before, but as long as you keep going in that general direction, you will get there eventually, So I feel
love that.
I feel like that's totally, as cliche as it sounds, like anything is possible. And and maybe that's the name of the movie.
Of your movie?
Yeah. Follow your destination. It's so corny though. Let's stick with hard nipples.
Okay, the previous guest left a question for you, which I think we talked a little bit about that, but if you could change one thing about your life, what would that be?
Whew. Man, that's tough, bro, because I can't go talking about how everything happens for a reason and then
change it.
Yeah. I just feel like everything that is in my life is what it's supposed to be, I think, you know what? I would have learned how to swim a little better. I'm not a good swimmer. And I can't tread water.
Yeah, you can get to that island without swimming.
That is facts. I'll float over there, bro. It'll take me a little longer.
Right.
But I'll get there, right? Just like we said, bro. You got to find a way, even if it takes a little longer. But yeah, I'm not a good swimmer. So, some more swim lessons in the past probably would have benefited me, especially now that I got kids,
Right.
Like if my kid falls in the pool, I can't be like, somebody.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah, maybe that.
Okay. And then my final question for you is, I think, although you chose a movie that has to be very popular. I can't believe it. I wouldn't believe that people haven't seen this movie. But if someone hasn't seen this movie, why would they have to watch Back to the Future?
Man, I was like, and trust me, I've had to sit down with people and show them Back to the Future for the first time before. They'd never seen it.
Yeah.
I would just tell them like, look, man, it's so fun. It's so exciting. It's like, and I'd be like, yo, this dude goes on a date with his mom. You got, and they'll be like, what? I'm like, I know. Watch it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, team. Oh, well, one last question. Why did you change your name?
Oh, man.
And how do you pronounce it correctly for me?
Sure. It's exactly like it's spelled, except for all the A's are O's. So it's Chantarangsu.
Chantarangsu.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, without getting too deep into it, I'd already been kind of thinking about changing my name, right? Because Timothy DeLaGhetto was just like a YouTube name. It was my silly fucking YouTube name. I said it once when I was freestyling, and I was like, oh, that's catchy. DeLaGhetto actually comes from an old episode of The Fresh Prince. He makes up a poet to meet girls named Rafael DeLaGhetto. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna use that, Timothy DeLaGhetto, right? Because I love The Fresh Prince and like I rap and stuff. So, and then it kind of just became my YouTube name. And then as I was doing more stuff, I was like, ah, man, do I really, you know, I was thinking about like accepting awards and stuff. I was like, do I want to be accepting my Academy Award, slapping Chris Rock as Timothy DeLaGhetto? Like,
right.
But then I thought, oh, it's I've already done too much with it.
So much, right? Yeah.
The pandemic happened, and I started thinking about like life and death, and I thought, like, if I caught COVID and died today, would I want to be remembered by this YouTube name, you know? And then I thought, well, like a lot of my content is about, you know, embracing who you are and being proud of yourself. And I was like, all right, well, initially where I thought in Hollywood, you need a stage name because who's going to be able to pronounce Chantarangsu? That was my original thought process.
Right.
I was like, you know, this Asian name is going to be too much for people. I thought, nah, man, like if I'm actually going to be at the point of my career that I want to be, then they'll have to know how to say my name, you know? So I was like, what's a better time than now during the pandemic where the world is kind of resetting to reset? So I was like, hey guys, I'm dropping the DeLaGhetto. I'm Tim Chantarangsu. This is my long ass Thai last name. This is what I'm doing. And, you know, kind of like like an ode to, hey, my people, be proud of who you are, be proud of your name, be proud of your culture, and also like my own family. And just, you know, when I accept that, like those Academy Awards or whatever, I want, you know, Tim Chantarangsu. You know?
Yeah.
So.
I mean, it's an awesome answer. You had it, you know, you thought about this. So
yeah.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Well, thank you so much, Tim, for doing this. I really appreciate you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Tim.